Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Kasturi. I'm an international student here in Australia. Lately, I've been getting so many questions on my Instagram, LinkedIn, mails asking about the situation in Australia, like how is it to be an international student here? What was my visa process like? How was my application process? When did I start my process? What is the part-time situation here? How did I get the scholarship? What unis did I apply to? And so many more. So I've just decided to make a video series where I would be explaining to you guys about all of these things and answering to your questions. I know a lot of people are already doing that on the internet, and you'd probably find like millions of videos on these topics about Australia on YouTube, but I feel like it's still my duty to just tell you guys from my point of view and my experience. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about one of the most hectic, chaotic, and the most confusing part of my entire application process, which was the visa process. Now, the visa process was actually quite good, but it was my educational loan process that took the longest. And today we're going to be talking about that. Now, Australian visa is very specific about the finances. They're very particular about your finances and they take that very seriously. So majority of the visas that get rejected is due to lack of financial proof that is being presented in your visa. The Australian student visa rejection rate is about 20 to 25%, which is a lot, and it even sometimes goes higher for a few intakes. For example, for the Feb intake, because Feb is the main intake here, and last time or the last intake, which was February 2025 intake, they had make it even more strict because they had limited the number of international students that they wanted to come in the country. And the number one reason being that too many students were trying to come in Australia and then try surviving completely on part-time jobs, not focusing on their studies, not being able to manage their finances, not even being able to cover the living expenses. So now the Australian High Commission ensures that only the people or only students that genuinely want to come here for studying are allowed to come in the country. Now, previously they did have a GTE test, which is the genuine temporary entrant test, but now they have just converted that into GS assessment, which is the genuine student assessment. It's just the same thing, but just with different names. So basically, they just take an interview of the student, asking them what is the reason they want to come to Australia, what are their future plans, why this university particularly, why are they studying this course particularly, and all of those things. It's a very simple interview, but they do it to understand why does the student want to come to Australia. So your proof of funds is basically the proof of how are you going to cover your expenses, and the two major expenses that you need to show in your visa are your living expenses and your educational or your tuition fees expenses. So if you're planning to do all these expenses by yourself, then you need to show your savings, your parents' savings. And if you're planning to take an educational loan, then you need to present the documents related to your educational loan. You need to present your sanction letter. If you have collateral, you need to present the documents related to your collateral. You need to give a proof of your disbursement. You need to give a proof of your first fee payment and all of those things. Now, with the Australian High Commission, this is what I was told by my agency, and this is like something that I've heard a lot many times, which is not 100% true. But Australian High Commission does not recognize all of the private banks and all of these NBFCs. So you see, they would much rather prefer you having a loan from a government bank than from a private bank. Now, I know this is not completely true because I have friends here who have taken educational loan from private banks and NBFCs, but yeah, this is like a fact that they would always be more happy. Let's put it in that way. They would be more happy if you get it from a government bank. Now, I know that some people would prefer going to a private bank than a government bank because private banks, it's so much easier to work with them. If you know that you are going to be taking a loan with collateral, then I don't see any reason why do you want to go with a private bank. Private banks would usually have a higher interest rate than government banks, which is not again 100% true. It really depends on your case and your profile, because I have seen friends getting a much better interest rate than me, and I have my educational loan from a government bank. So again, all of these things that I'm saying is just on a very common basis which I've seen here. But yeah, for a fact, government banks do have a much cheaper interest rate than private banks. Although it is so much difficult to work with them at times, but yeah, they do offer a cheaper interest rate. And if you have a university which is listed in their priority or in their top premium list of universities, then you would even get a discount. If you are a female student, you might get again a discount as well. So in my case, I've taken an educational loan from SBI, and it was so tough because this part of my application process was the longest. It took most of my time. My educational loan wasn't approved, wasn't sanctioned for 2 months straight, and which means I wasted so much of time. I had to constantly keep getting back to the bank. I had to constantly keep getting new documents and submitting the old ones and just running around from this branch to that branch, and it was just very chaotic. An educational loan should be sanctioned within 4 weeks to 6 weeks approximately, but if yours is taking more time than that, then all of these other things that you probably would do after your loan is sanctioned would get delayed. For example, for the Australian process, so after you get a sanctioned educational loan, in my case, I had received a conditional offer letter before, and the conditions were that I need to give an English test and that I need to provide a sponsors letter, which means that I need to provide them with a sanction letter from a bank. Now, after I was done with my educational loan is when I submitted my sponsors letter and my IELTS score, and after that I got an unconditional letter, after which I had given my GS test. As I said, the genuine student assessment is like compulsory for all the students that want to come here. It's not, it is taken by the university, so a faculty from your university would take up that interview, and then they would send the document to your visa they would attach it to your visa application. And after the interview is when I got the COE. COE is your confirmation of enrollment. This is like the final document that yes, you have been confirmed of having an admission in Australian university. And then they would attach that to your visa, and then and then you could actually finally lodge your visa and then wait for it to arrive for 2 months. Just kidding. For some people, it's like auto granted. For people like me, I had to wait up to like 2 months to get my visa. Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, if you're planning to get an educational loan, I have a bonus for you. Today's video is sponsored by GyanDhan. So GyanDhan is a company that would act as a bridge between students and bank. They would make your process so much smoother. They would help you to find the best interest rates, choose the right loan option, and avoid any banks that delay your disbursement. They would also help you to get your loan processed in 1 to 2 weeks. In my case, I had to wait for 8 weeks, which is a lot. I wish I knew about them earlier. And the best part is that they have no hidden charges, they are completely free, and they are trusted by over 25,000 students so far. And also the fact that it's everything online. So here's how the entire process works. So the first step is to check your eligibility and apply. Just go to the website, just fill in your details, and just see if you are eligible for a loan and what offers apply. And after that, you would get a counselor. So every student gets a dedicated counselor who will reach out to you, and they will explain to you everything in very simple terms. They would explain to you which bank is better for you and what all documents are needed. And the third step is the easiest step. You did not visit the bank at all. You just need to upload the documents. They will be directly reviewed by the bank. And the fourth step is GyanDhan would negotiate on your behalf and try and help you to get the best interest rate possible. Trust me guys, this is where the all magic happens. And the last step is that you will finally receive your approval letter, your sanction letter, within the time frame that you wanted it to be in. You can finally apply for your visa without any stress. So if you are somebody who is really confused with all of these educational loan process, because trust me, it's actually very confusing. Like, you don't know what banks you want to go to, you don't know what are the offers that they provide, you don't know what are the different processes that they take you through. Like every bank has its own different process and their own different offers. For example, when I was doing my process from Bank of Baroda, because that was like the closest and the nearest to my house, and that was the exact only reason for me visiting that bank, they'd given me two offers: one that I was a female student, and second being that I was in their top list of universities. So University of Melbourne was on that list of good universities. So yeah, they were ready to give me a loan. And then I started doing my process, and I don't remember why did I stop that process over there. Maybe it was just getting delayed, that is why. But then I also had started my process in SBI at the same time, and I received my offer letter from SBI at that time. So yeah, from, from my sanction letter from SBI at the time. So yeah, and if you are somebody who doesn't want any delays, who is very confused about what banks to go to, if you're confused about what offers are they ready to provide you, reach out to GyanDhan and you would be good to go. I have linked their website and their application form in the description below, and you can also book a free call with their team to get in touch with them. Now, moving on, after you have received your sanction letter and you've finally done with your educational process and all the finances part, it's time for your GS assessment. Now, as I said, this would be conducted by a faculty from your university. It would be like a very simple interview that would last up to like 10 minutes, not if not just like 7 to 8 minutes, where they would ask you simple questions like, why did you decide to go with this university? What are your future plans? Why did you choose Australia? Why not some other country? Then how are you planning to manage your finances? That is when you tell them that I have this educational loan to cover my tuition fees, and then I have my parents' savings for my expenses, whatever it is. And they would also ask you, why do you want to go with this course? What have you studied in your undergrad? So it would be like a very simple interview, but you need to be very picky with your answers and make sure that you're not answering anything stupid. Now, make sure your GS assessment is done 2 to 3 months before your intake. So my GS assessment was done in the month of December, and I had to, like, my intake was February intake. So yeah, after all those fuss, I am so glad that my process was actually done on time. Now, once your loan is sanctioned, you need to do your first disbursement. You need to pay the first semester tuition fees from your loan and also show the funds for your living expenses, like your 1 year of living expenses. And I know that many banks would now at this point say that we won't disperse the loan before your visa arrives or before we actually confirm that you get your visa approved, which is understandable on their part as well. But for Australia, it is vice versa. You need to disperse your loan in order to get your visa granted. And again, if your bank doesn't listen to you, just make GyanDhan speak to them. Now, a bonus tip that I want to give you here is that now that you already know about GyanDhan, please do not reach out to them at the very end of your educational loan process. I would suggest you to keep them from the very beginning, so right from your application process and just finding out what banks you want to reach out to, understanding their offers and stuff like that. So keep them in loop from the very first step and not directly at the last step. So coming to the last and final step of the entire visa process. Now that you have received your educational loan, I mean you've sanctioned your educational loan, then you have disbursed your first tuition fees or your living expenses, you are done with your GS assessment, and now is the time that you will receive your confirmation of enrollment, the COE. Now, with your COE, with your fee payment receipt and your bank statements, you can finally apply to Student 500 visa. Just to let you guys know, because I get this question asked many times, no, Australia does not have a visa interview. We do have a GS interview instead. So if your documents are genuine and if you have attached everything well, then I think your visa should be granted successfully. I know this was like a long informative video and I'm going to try and keep it very short from next time. But yeah, this was all about your GS assessment, your COE, your Student 500 visa and your educational loan. So yeah, thank you so much guys for watching this video. I hope that I have helped you in some or the other way. If you guys have any questions, you can always put them in the comments down below or reach out to me on Instagram. I'm always there to help you guys. And yeah, please check out my link in the description for GyanDhan. Please reach out to them for any queries you have regarding educational loan. Thank you so much, GyanDhan, for sponsoring this video, and I would see you guys in my next one. Also, if you want any more videos on topics like this, please let me know in the comments down below what topic should I cover next, and I would be more than happy to do it. So yeah, that's it for this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.